What is a veteran? We're not Democrats, Republicans, nor independents. We are veterans. We're not Christian, Muslim, Hindu, or Jewish. We are veterans. We're not black, white, brown, red, or any color. We are veterans. I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed over me, according to regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So help me God. Never forget that only 9.8% of the people living in our state took the opportunity to serve. We should be proud to be a veteran and never forget our oath of enlistment. Would you support our efforts to help North Carolina veterans? Carolina veterans, help for the forgotten. On any given night in North Carolina, 1,659 men and women veterans are homeless. On any given night in North Carolina, 182 funded beds are available for homeless veterans. On any given night in North Carolina, 1,477 men and women veterans are without a bed. These numbers will only grow with returnees from Iraq. Consider the veterans. Young men and women who joined the military for a variety of reasons. A sense of duty, to follow in the footsteps of their fathers, uncles, and siblings, to earn money for college, and yes, often as a career choice. These young men and women experienced a growing sense of pride as they worked to gain their initial proficiency in a selected MOS. Equally important, each had grown in maturity and were capable of performing their duties as a member of the Armed Forces of the United States. How do these professional men and women become someone who lives under a bridge, a camp in the woods, or in jail? Is this your child, your grandchild, your niece, or nephew? Carolina veterans go from this to this. This is a national disgrace. The prisoners at Guantanamo Bay receive better care than our own veterans. Let's talk for a moment about multiple deployments. Remember in 2008 when the Senate killed an amendment offered by Senator Webb of Virginia, a Vietnam veteran, to require longer rest periods between deployments. Still another reason for the growing epidemic of PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder, multiple deployments. Today, with a professional force of limited size and with the absence of a draft, multiple deployments have become the norm. Servicemen and servicewomen have no time to adjust to the return to the world of the other 97% who did not serve and have no personal stake in our police actions. At the same time, preparations begin immediately for the next deployment. The servicemen must worry about their family and themselves. Will you come home this time? Maybe, but you're going again in 12 months or less. Time plus multiple deployments equals stress. No treatment for stress equals PTSD. But what about time travel? Returning veterans of Vietnam, Iraq, and Afghanistan all experience time travel. Leave from a hilltop in Vietnam, a desert outpost in Iraq, or a lonely platoon outpost in Afghanistan, and poof, you're home in 3 to 4 days. Talk about time compression. No one can move from a dangerous combat zone to a family, civilian setting in 3 short days. What do the veterans return to find? They arrive to a peaceful America where everyone seems busy with their lives and not overly concerned with the returning members of the World Police Force. The veterans have no outward impact on the lives of the average citizen. But in 12 months or less, veterans are expected to return to Iraq or Afghanistan, with each tour strengthening the dangers of PTSD and its vicious impact on lives and families. Children of these families are known as military brats and suffer the same disconnect as their parents. Brats are shaped by moves, a culture of resilience, loss of friendship, never having a hometown, absence of a parent due to deployments, strong patriarchal authority, threat of parental loss in war, stresses associated with the psychological aftermath of war, living with war-affected returning veteran parents. So the great disconnect has an impact on the military family, not just the serviceman or woman. Time plus multiple deployments plus family difficulties equals stress. No treatment for stress equals PTSD. The final straw, finding a job. Veterans leave the service and experience one family difficulty after another with no idea that many of their problems are a result of post-traumatic stress disorder. They now face the last and greatest obstacle to a safe return to civilian life with their family and children enjoying their time together: finding a job. The first shock comes when the veteran discovers employers are not impressed by their duties in the military and have no idea what an MOS means or place a value on that MOS. The 2 most important factors in the job market are presently education and age. Not service education and experience, but college education. Age, the veteran is too young or too old. How can a 50-year-old veteran respond to a supervisor 20 years his junior? What's the veteran going to tell their family? They can take an entry-level position below their abilities, only another step toward depression. Veterans often find themselves unable to find help for their disassociation. The veteran is suddenly homeless and has few choices of residence. A transitional shelter, available from 5:30 in the afternoon till 8:30 in the morning, with little or no security for personal belongings. The remainder of the time, the homeless veteran must remain on the street. Under a bridge, available 24/7, but no security beyond the hidden location or a partner to watch over belongings. In a camp in the woods, this is the preferred shelter because the veteran can protect their personal belongings by grouping together. But still, all camps are temporary and usually unsuitable for female veterans or veterans with children. How can a transitional shelter provide assistance to a homeless veteran when shelter rules only permit overnight emergency shelters? There are often dormitories providing 6-month programs to veterans willing to participate in a program intended to lead a veteran to self-sufficiency. How can anyone lead a veteran suffering from PTSD to self-sufficiency in only 6 months? Homeless shelters have high-sounding mission statements. Programs are intended to rekindle a desire to return to a meaningful and productive life. Yet the only mention of a homeless veteran is to comment that about 20% of the shelter population or veterans. There doesn't seem to be any programs intended to address the specific difficulties faced by the homeless veteran. A homeless veteran is simply one of many. You know, many of our neighbors want to help for a while or on a special occasion. Sadly, this help doesn't last long, and it usually is simply a feel-good action on the part of the volunteer. The only way to move homeless veterans out from under bridges and out of the woods is to invite these veterans to live in an area that offers 1. Attractive permanent housing up to 2 years, 2. Adequate food and clothing, 3. Security from personal invasion, 4. Respect for their service, 5. Advocate their needs with outside agencies of the government, and 6. Reawaken their sense of responsibility to themselves and the community. Meeting these needs gives the homeless veteran a sense of shared responsibilities between the veteran and the Pride in Self program. It's the only way. Let's return to the unit structure of World War II. Each company had its own company or unit area: barracks, mess hall, orderly room, and supply and armory. Rather than 4 barracks with open bays, 4 dormitories. 2 50-bed dormitories for men, 1 50-bed dormitory for single women with a shared bath between each room for 4 ladies, and 1 dormitory for women with children, each apartment containing 2 bedrooms, bath, and kitchenette. Fronting the dormitories will be a dining hall, as well as office areas. Our vision is to develop a network of Pride in Self campus designed to recover one of our greatest assets, and that is the U.S. veteran. Consider, many veterans are more mature and responsible at the age of 25 than the average citizen at the age of 50. The average veteran has learned to make a decision, while the average citizen learns to avoid a decision. A veteran understands the importance of teamwork to accomplish a goal, while the average citizen believes in every man for himself, a trait exhibited throughout our society today. We intend to reclaim these valuable resources for ourselves, their families, our society, and country. Our veterans will leave one of our campuses having accomplished 2 major goals: pride in themselves and a commitment to shared responsibilities. The mission of CVSG is to translate our vision into a reality. Safe haven facilities with committed advocates to facilitate continuing education, vocational training, and employment opportunities. Working with homeless veterans, those suffering from the turmoil of PTSD, and unemployed to develop and execute a life transition plan to become a productive, sustaining veteran who is a proud participating member of society. CVSG shall instill and reinforce personal values to include integrity in all facets of our lives, pride in ourselves and our position as a veteran, responsibility for our actions, respect for others and for ourselves, innovation in our approach to life, our families, and our fellow veterans, excellence in every facet of our life, sustainability, ensuring the continuing improvement of the CVSG path, perseverance to overcome any and every difficulty as a team, veteran-centered, ready to lead other veterans in the CVSG path. The CVSG Eastern North Carolina Pride in Self community. Because these facilities are attractive and well planned, all veterans must be free from alcohol and or drug addiction. The first step is to reintroduce the veteran to pride in themselves. This begins by placing the veteran in an environment reminiscent of their military experiences, familiar surroundings. All residents are military veterans. All residents must subscribe to certain practices for living. All residents are supplied with fresh clothing, bedding, etc., and are expected to renew these supplies as appropriate. All residents are to be familiar with and observe all standard operating procedures of the Pride in Self campus. The second step is to reintroduce the veteran to personal responsibility, to themselves, to fellow residents, to their families, to the community and general public. Veterans are required to participate in the management and maintenance of the Pride in Self facility to include all buildings and grounds. Begin the process of giving back. Each veteran will serve as advocates to program participants and will develop training guides to each advocate position. Veterans serving as advocates will assist program participants with any state or federal agency tasked with providing services to veterans, both homeless as well as other veterans. Well, why inaction to now or up to now? Any sensible person would raise the question, why wasn't this addressed by the military service while the veteran was still on active duty? There seems to be many reasons. Lack of funds, lack of adequate services by the VA and other government agencies, lack of leadership, lack of commitment to the homeless veteran and veterans in general, no recognition of the enormity of the problems, and inability to relate. Many of our leaders have never served. Out of sight, out of mind. Whenever possible, all Pride in Self campus units will be supervised by retired and or veteran non-commissioned officers of all services. Our Board of Directors. I'm a Vietnam-era combat veteran suffering from PTSD. Having lived for a time in my car and in an abandoned building without heat, lights, toilet, etc., I understand the pitfalls of PTSD. I was a military brat whose father suffered from PTSD, unrecognized, from World War II in Korea, and so have perhaps a wider appreciation of the difficulties that a serviceman or woman and their families face. So many wonderful groups and individuals work to help those of us suffering from PTSD. Yet we continue to suffer from neglect. The mission of the Carolina Veterans Support Group is to bring veterans suffering from PTSD together in a campus environment where each veteran will have the time and the support to adjust to the impact of PTSD on themselves and their families. Most importantly, this group aims to assist each with how to regain their pride and lives. I hope you will consider the homeless veteran and the statements depicted in this presentation. Together we can make a difference in so many lives. Together we can address both the problems and the solutions needed to help these servicemen and servicewomen to thrive again. Thank you and God bless. Pat Lloyd.